Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today is Monday, May 5th, 2025. More than 4 years, more than 5 years of Torah every single day, of finding each other every weekday so we can learn together and lift each other up, say good morning to each other by name, and learn how to face this world and be strong as a community. Susie, it's good to see you. I hope that everyone, that you are safe and well. Linda and Tara, Jonathan and Stanley, Cecile, Boker Tov, it's good to see you. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Joy. It's good to see all of you. Let's take a second and say good morning, then we'll sing a bracha and learn some Torah. Arlene and Fabrice, Barry and Lisa, Boker Tov, good to see all of you. Jack and Deborah, Julie, hi everyone. All right, let's take a breath. We're going to sing a bracha, learn some Torah. לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה, הפוך בה והפוך בה, לעסוק בדברי תורה. So good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. Penny, thanks for keeping us on track. It is broadcast 1296. And Judy, you are always the first one to post. Thank you for reminding us, as we always count. Today is 577 days of waiting for our beloveds. 577 days since October 7th, 2023. I want to start with this confession, friends. Often in the morning, I have a thought that I'm going to try to address and connect with a parsha. This morning, I woke up unsure exactly how I wanted to frame my thinking for AchareiMot-Kedoshim, the double portion that we read this week. There's a lot in there to talk about, but I just wasn't sure because yesterday I had the extraordinary experience. My daughter, who's a senior in high school, is part of UJA's J-Teen Leadership Program, where young adults, young Jewish adults, are exposed to really great leadership in the world, activists and speakers, often related to our mission as UJA in the world. And yesterday was a very powerful gathering of all of J-Teen's students in Westchester, all the participants, to hear from a young man, I say young man, but he's 40, named Ron Segev. Some of you might have heard Ron speak. Ron is a survivor of the Nova Music Festival, where Hamas massacred hundreds and hundreds of people who just wanted to dance, and how he was able to both illustrate what happened, but also how he demonstrated his own humanity. He prepared these young people, saying, Some of the way that he responds to the trauma is through laughter, so he might laugh a little bit, but he also might cry. And the students were not just respectful in the way they listened, that's important, especially if you've ever taught high school, but they were reverent in the way that they listened. I was there with my friend Audrey Stein, who's a regional director for UJA here in Westchester. She had heard Ron speak at the Nova site at Kibbutz Re'im. And I found myself again in the freshness of the experience of 577 days ago, and then through the 4 trips that I've been blessed to take to Israel since that very, very dark day. To hear Ron's words was overwhelming. So this morning when I said to myself, how can I speak to that experience and also to this Torah portion, I took a second and reviewed what I had written on AchareiMot-Kedoshim in years past. I have an archive that I look to sometimes, and I found that last year for Parshat Kedoshim, the second Torah portion we read today, I reflected that day, it was May 8th of 2024, on visiting the Nova exhibit, which UJA helped bring to New York, which is I think currently in Toronto. It's a traveling, it's called an exhibit, but it's an experience. And I remember it very clearly, and I'll connect it to the Torah portion in a moment. Having gone through the experience with 80 colleagues when Nova was here on Wall Street in New York, and being lost in my thoughts and in the pain, which is so important to experience. It's not the same as going to Yad Vashem, but it has that kind of overwhelming Jewish pain. And getting through the exhibit, and then, as some of you know what I'm about to share, sitting down on a bench at the very end of the exhibit, which is set up in a healing space, very much in the spirit of the tribe of Nova, which is a gorgeous group of imaginative and artistic and nature-loving human beings, just gentle, shining souls, all of them. All of them. I sat on this bench next to a guy with some crazy hair, and he checked in on me. How are you? And I said, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And I spoke to him for a minute about, the impact all this had on me. And he said, well, my name is Yarin Ilovich. I was the DJ at 6:29 a.m. on October 7th at the Nova Festival. And if you look back at the clips, you see that he was the one spinning discs. And I remember being just overwhelmed then. And I reflected that in this comment that I just found. So that's mostly what I'm going to be sharing today, the feeling of being overwhelmed. And in the second of the 2 Torah portions that we read this week, AchareiMot-Kedoshim, there's a central command. It's in chapter 19 of the book of Leviticus. It is called the Holiness Code by scholars because it begins with the command, Kedoshim tiyu, ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. I recently saw the master's thesis by my beloved friend, Rabbi David Paskin. When he was about to be ordained by the Academy for Jewish Religion in New York, he wrote an entire thesis on this line. Brilliant analysis. But no one really knows, and this was the core of his work, what the word kadosh means. Be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. We cannot be God. I, the Lord your God, am holy, therefore you should be, even if we are images of God. This has vexed scholars and religious commentators, well, since the Torah. And the ancient rabbis say, just as God does certain things, so too we should imitate God. This is a phrase in Latin imitatio Dei, which is to imitate God. Just as God clothed the naked, and the example is Adam and Eve in the garden, so too we should clothe the naked. Just as God feeds the hungry, the Israelites in the desert, so too we should feed the hungry. The way that we follow God's ways is not to be God, but it's to imitate the best actions of God. It's a beautiful teaching. It still doesn't quite answer what the word holy means. One of the classic answers in Jewish tradition, which Rashi quotes, when it says Kedoshim to you, be holy, he translates it as Prushim to you, be separate, be distinct. The things that make us a tribe are what we should double down on. And so Kadosh, in that sense, is to be separate. I get how that's true, and in fact, I'm very, very moved and inspired by the things that I identify as uniquely Jewish. But that can't be the entire definition of holy, because holiness is not only found in one tribe or one faith. So I remember thinking about this a year ago after going through the Nova exhibit. And I remember the teaching of Rabbi Irving Yitz Greenberg, one of the greatest teachers alive today in any tradition, anywhere. And he gave a Shabbos talk that I attended when I was much younger, like 30 years ago, where he defined the word kadosh in a new way. And I am experiencing this again after witnessing Ron yesterday and remembering. Because after all, as Elie Wiesel taught, to be witness to a witness is to become witness. So Rabbi Greenberg taught that the word kadosh means intense. Kedoshim to you means lead an intensely meaningful life. And the Kedoshim, which is another way that we say martyrs, those we lost on October 7th. And right now I'm thinking specifically of those who wanted to experience dawn, who knew that the best time, the most meaningful moment, the deepest inspiration was dawn. Dawn. When they were dancing. Kedoshim, meaning intense, also relates to when we say Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. We say about God in Hebrew for the Kedusha, and many Catholics say this during Mass, Christians saying during Mass, holy, holy, holy. It's from the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, that God is holy, holy, holy. And so we ache to tap into that holiness, to know the beauty of dawn, and to make the promise, as the tribe of Nova does, we will dance again. That is a way of imitating God, by leaping, this is a phrase of Neshama's, by leaping into joy. It is a leap into joy. It is not an easy leap some days. But Yarin Ilovich, a DJ with a beautiful, beautiful person with amazing hair and exquisite skill and a tremendously beautiful heart, and Ron Segev, an international bridge champion, a graceful, eloquent speaker, a vulnerable human, a willing ambassador of the tribe. He's able to laugh and tell his story. I know that my child, who was present with her cohort of J-Team, will never forget that moment. They will carry his testimony, as will I, as we all must, because after all, God is the one who endures. Another way that we follow God's example is by being a vessel of testimony. Theologically speaking, God has seen it all. Well, we haven't seen it all, but through the eyes and lens, and testimony of our ancestors, we have seen quite a lot, and we have always said that we will remember. The whole idea of Zachor. Ron ended his talk yesterday by saying, I think about survivors of the Shoah. If they could do it, we can do it. What a humble thing to say. And how important it is, friends, for us to know that we, for all of the heaviness of this, we have survivors again, whose testimony must be amplified by our strength. We must carry these stories forward, and in that way, we fulfill the ancient mandate of this week's Parsha, Kedoshim Tihiyu. Be holy, step into the intensity, be in the presence, and bear witness. Make sure that the actions that we take with what we receive, that the actions are worthy of our ancestors, that we step into intensely meaningful experiences, we generate them for our children, and we make sure that just as God took care of the vulnerable, we take care of the vulnerable. And of course that's true within the tribe, and of course that's true beyond the tribe, because the image of God is not exclusively Jewish, but this mandate, while not exclusively Jewish, is certainly found as core to Jewish being. Let's lead holy lives, friends, beginning with what you will do once this broadcast is done, with a testimony that now I have shared with you from Ron. Look him up. Look up Ron Segev. Listen to him. Find him on YouTube. Find other survivors. Find Yarin Ilovich and his incredible music. He's on Instagram as Artifacts, F-E-X. It's not my style of music, but it's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Find Maran Yanai. She spoke to me a year ago today at the Nova exhibit in New York. We witness it all. And because we are called to be holy, we internalize that intensity and we channel it to give gifts back to the world. That's what it is, to answer the call of the Torah this week, Kedoshim Tihiyu. Be holy because I, the Lord your God, am holy. We can reach high, even when we're brought low. We can take a leap into joy, even when sometimes we cry. Send your hearts to the east, friends. Sing with me. Kolon baleva pneima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion tzofia od lo avda tikvateinu hatikva bat shnot alpayim liot am chofshi be'artzeinu eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim liot am chofshi be'artzeinu eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. Take care, friends. See you tomorrow.